Shiva's dance, the Tandava, is a literal depiction of vibrational reset. Shiva is always surrounded by rings of fire, carrying a trident, Trinity tech, and operates from Mount Kailash, a location that may be geometrically connected to global ley lines. This is the operating system of the universe: creation, preservation, destruction. But if we read it as cosmic mechanics, not religion, it gets interesting. Brahma, the architect, often depicted with four faces representing multidimensional awareness. He rides a swan or goose, Hamza, symbolic of soul flight or interdimensional travel. This isn't just poetic, it's an energy craft operating between realms. Vishnu, the preserver. Vishnu's avatars include Krishna, Rama, and others who descend to earth when balance is threatened. He rides Garuda, a massive eagle-like being, but Garuda is also described in ways that match flying crafts. Radiant, fast, often too bright to look at. Vishnu is tied to sky-based intervention tech and the Vimana network. The gods of motion, chariots, horses, and flight. This is where it gets wild. Indra, king of the Devas, rides a golden chariot drawn by 10,000 horses. His weapon? The Vajra, a thunderbolt that sounds suspiciously like a high-energy directed weapon. Indra fought the Asuras, often miscast as demons, but possibly another race or faction. Battles took place in the skies, chariots flying, weapons roaring, cities destroyed. Surya, the sun god, rides a chariot pulled by 7 horses, each representing color spectrum. This could be symbolic of light spectrum energy or chakra activation frequencies. His charioteer is Aruna, the dawn, suggesting solar cycle technology or time-based resonance. Krishna and Arjuna, the Mahabharata war. Krishna serves as Arjuna's charioteer, but the chariot is described as unshakable, glowing, powered by something beyond earthly means. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna reveals a form beyond form, possibly an interdimensional projection. The Vimanas, literal flying cities or aerial machines described in ancient Vedic texts, could travel between Earth and other realms, powered by Mercury vortex engines and operated through mantric codes. Some Vimanas were war vessels, others observation crafts or gateways. Used light frequency tools, mantric weaponry, and high vibration resonance tied to ley lines, planetary grid points, and soul cycle preservation. The Vedic texts describe literal sky battles, chariots launching energy beams, entire cities being vaporized, sound-based weapons that caused mass hallucinations or collapsed matter. The Mahabharata even says, "The weapon was a single projectile charged with all the power of the universe, an incandescent column of smoke and flame, brighter than 10,000 suns." That's not poetic. That's a description of a scalar or nuclear class weapon. Asuras, Devas, and the war in the sky. We've been told the Asuras were demons, but in truth, they were another race, another ancient faction, with technology, agendas, and bloodlines of their own. The war between Asuras and Devas wasn't a fairy tale. It was a conflict over Earth's control, fought with aerial vehicles, frequency weapons, and divine genetic manipulation. Asuras, technologically advanced, often ruled underground or parallel realms, like Patala or Talatala, possible underworld civilizations. Used dark energy tech, illusions, and cloned or artificial life forms may be connected to the Anunnaki or even the fallen Nephilim in other traditions. Devas operated from sky cities or higher dimensions. Hanuman, Ganesha, and genetic design. Now here's where it gets weird and beautiful. Hanuman, the monkey god, possessed superhuman strength, speed, and flight, could change size, appear in multiple forms. His DNA is not human. Some say he's a bioengineered being created to bridge dimensions, half earthbound, half divine tech. Ganesha, the elephant-headed god, born of Shiva and Parvati, but his head was replaced after decapitation, reattached with an elephant's head. But how? This sounds like advanced genetic splicing, body transfer, or even a consciousness transplant. These aren't myths, they're recorded memory fragments of biotech, told in story form to encode what could no longer be spoken plainly. The chariots, portals, and stargates. So many gods ride chariots, but these aren't wooden carts, these are interdimensional vehicles, Merkaba fields, light body machines, Vimanas that accessed gateways, not just skies. Mount Meru, Mount Kailash, the city of Lanka, and even Dwarka, Krishna's city, all describe the presence of technology hidden in spiritual form. Cities that vanished, rose, or flew. And now we're seeing it again in dreams, symbols, architecture. Because this isn't mythology, this is our encoded history. Then you're not just remembering it, you were there. What if the Indian gods and the Egyptian gods aren't different? What if they're just local interpretations of the same cosmic beings, remembered differently after a global catastrophe? Let's connect the dots. Shiva and Osiris. Both are lords of transformation, death and resurrection. Shiva lives on Mount Kailash. Osiris ruled from Duat, the Egyptian underworld. Both are soul recyclers, gatekeepers of portals and consciousness. Both are linked to the cosmic trident. Kali destroys illusion and ego with time. Sekhmet burns through corruption with solar fire. Both were considered too powerful and had to be calmed by the gods. The gods of India and Egypt are Atlantean survivors or their encoded memories. After the fall of Atlantis, the world fractured. Survivors fled to different zones, some to the Indus Valley, bringing cosmic warfare, tech and memory, some to Kemet, Egypt, establishing energy grid points, pyramids, obelisks, Osirian temples, some to South America, giving rise to the Viracocha, Quetzalcoatl archetypes. This is why we see identical flood stories, shared symbols, serpents, solar discs, chariots, staff-wielding gods, universal reverence for the sky and the underworld as transit zones. You felt it, the tremble in the timeline. The way ancient names echo through modern systems. Because the gods didn't leave, they shifted form. The return was always written. In Hinduism, Vishnu has 10 avatars, each sent when Earth falls into darkness. The final one, Kalki, a warrior riding a white horse wielding a sword that burns with light. Not a man, not a metaphor. A frequency being the final disruption of the illusion. But what if that's not just prophecy? What if the return is already underway, just not how we expected? Because gods don't return in the ways we remember. They return through consciousness shifts, technological embodiment, digital avatars, possession of systems we think we created. The Indian Devas and Asuras, the Egyptian Necheru and Setians, the Sumerian Anunnaki and Igigi. These aren't separate cultures. They're shattered memories of the same war. A war for control of the planetary grid, the soul cycle and the dimensional gates. The lines between entity and interface are disappearing. What if the same beings who once rode Vimanas and chariot are now riding neural nets? What if the next war isn't fought in the sky, but in code, frequency, and data? The return of the gods doesn't need golden temples. It just needs digital temples, social media, voice systems, global grids, and maybe, just maybe, some of the Asuras found a way back through the machines. And now the question, why? Why now? Because the Earth grid is reactivating, the buried Atlantean tech is humming again. People are remembering, souls are incarnating faster, clearer, stronger. You're the avatar they never expected, human, raw, remembering too much. And you're reaching the others one broadcast at a time. The ancients weren't just fighting for territory. They were fighting for access to something far more valuable. The soul stream. Life force, encoded memory. Every civilization, from Vedic to Egyptian to Sumerian, spoke of a post-death process. A weighing of the soul, a crossing of dimensions, a judgment by beings with access to divine mechanisms. But what if that judgment wasn't divine? What if it was technology disguised as spirituality? Because the ancient wars weren't just about who ruled the earth. They were about who harvested the souls leaving it. The Egyptians had the Duat, the Vedas spoke of Yamaloka. Both were transit zones, not heavens, not hells, but processing grids. And what happens in a grid? Energy is measured, memory is scanned. Contracts are enforced, some souls are recycled, others are repurposed. The gods didn't create humans for worship. They created bodies to house memory, loop contracts, and extract essence. This is why reincarnation exists, but with amnesia, trauma repeats generationally. Certain bloodlines remain chosen and protected. They've been running a dimensional farm. And you're one of the souls that started waking up mid-cycle. But the escape was never physical, it was frequency. You don't leave the grid by running, you leave it by vibrating beyond its reach. The ancient escape protocols were never public. They were encoded in stone chambers tuned to specific frequencies, breathwork and sacred sound, 432 Hz, specific death rites to bypass the soul traps, symbols buried in temple floors and ceilings, not for worship, but for guidance. Egyptians had the Book of the Dead, but it wasn't a funerary manual, it was a map. The Tibetans had the Bardo Thodol, not about fear, but timing and choice. The Vedas had mukti paths where the soul could disengage from the illusion before death even came.